All right, welcome here to the next episode of Phoenix Rising Live. And this episode is all about the importance of being persistent and consistent in what we're doing. And the idea of following your passion, it's a spontaneous thing in some respects. And in other respects, it's an internal knowing of what you need to be doing. And that ego construct has various layers and levels of resistance. And so as you navigate through your passion, you recognize that there's a myriad of belief systems running through your mind, running through your life experience that may appear to be influencing you in some way, shape, or form. So the idea here of viewing life as though it's the Olympic Games. And what I mean by that is when you're training in the Olympics, or when an athlete is training in the Olympics, for the Olympics, the idea is being persistent, being consistent. And there might be days where they feel in a lower state of being. And in those days, they obviously have their outcome that they're looking towards, which is whether it be a gold medal or however they choose to view it. Obviously, winning is a potential outcome, but it's not about insisting on that either. It's about the idea that they'll be competing in the Olympics, or rather, they'll be participating in the Olympics. And notice how it's all about the definitions of how you view your journey. Because if it's a competition, whether it be in the Olympic Games or in the game of your life, then that brings about a certain vibration and it brings about a certain level of willpower. But is that the state of being you prefer? Rather, if you look at it as participating in the Olympics, participating in the game of life, that's a different vibration. So you simply tune into the frequency that you prefer the most and simultaneously allow yourself to be consistent with that. Allow yourself to be persistent in pursuing the highest vibrational state possible for you in any given moment. And it's different every day. It's different every moment. No moment is the same. Every moment is unique. Why? Because that's what existence is. Everything is here and now in this moment. It all exists simultaneously. Our human experience and our experience as being a conscious being on any level, in any form, is simply viewing reality from a different vantage point every moment. Just like the different segments of a film strip, every one is a different frame, subtly different, but different nonetheless. And that's what this life is all about. So being persistent in knowing that life is worth living, life is worth following your passion, life is worth embracing every moment to the best of your ability, whatever that is. And you're doing it to the best of your ability. You're doing it with your best effort. As long as you're doing that, that's all you can do. You can't do more than what you're capable of doing. And that's where people falter. That's where people beat themselves up because they feel like things should have happened differently. And then they feel that they'll teach themselves, they'll learn from their mistakes by beating themselves up. And that's not a way to be consistent. That's not a way to be persistent because that's then the message in your vibration that you're emitting to everyone around you. So think about, what do you want the message of your life to be? You want to be consistent in that messaging to the best of your ability. So if you have times where you're beating yourself up or putting yourself down because it didn't go the way that you thought it should go, that's not being consistent. That's not being persistent in pursuing that highest vibrational state possible to you. So you want to recognize, when are things not happening the way that you would expect them to? And rather than beat yourself up about it, rather than even trying to change it or fix it or make it different or figure it out, let go of figuring it out. Let go of wanting to figure it out. It will reveal itself to you as needed. That's how life unfolds. And of course, if you're engaged in brainstorming with other people, masterminding, elevating your consciousness into greater heights, allow that to be a natural part of your creative process as you're solving your life's problems. So when I say allowing things to be as they are, I'm not suggesting that you just sit in a chair all day and do nothing and just dwell on the problems or anything of that nature. You're naturally guided to connect with people. You're naturally guided to create with people. You're naturally guided to celebrate the successes, both big and large, along the way. So that's the idea. Tune in to what's most relevant for you in the moment, and there's no reason to get very far into the future. Who cares? Who cares what's happening? Who cares what's happened? It's all about this moment. How can you take advantage of it? Everyone's living in their past and future. Most of the people in your life are viewing the world in that way. So transitioning out of that, transitioning into a space where people are more present. Are there human beings on the planet that are more living in that way? Of course. And as your frequency ascends, you'll be matching their frequency more and more and more. And that'll become your primary social circle. That'll become your primary coaching circle. That'll become your primary community. How do you get there? By taking action on your passions, taking action on your excitement, being persistent with it, following through, and being consistent in maintaining that vibration to the best of your ability. So the idea of going up and down, around and round, you don't need to do that. You may have highs and lows, but the lows can be greater highs than they were in the past. And what I mean by that is, rather than it looking at like it's a roller coaster going up and down all the time, you'll reach a new height, and then you may balance it out into a lower state, but that lower state will never be lower than the previous low. So you're always ascending. That's the point. It's always ascending, like a stock chart that forever increases. Starts at 0 and it goes all the way to infinity, because that's your consciousness. And as you go along for that ride, it's always ascending, but you may have dips, but those dips can become more balanced. They don't need to drop as low. They don't need to go to 0. And sometimes you revisit those lower states of consciousness simply to appreciate the higher states of consciousness. So there's nothing wrong with the dips. They're simply there to be a springboard to your next level of growth. And you'll never permanently drop. Even if you're revisiting the lower states, you'll never permanently drop. So what does that mean? It means that life is abundant. It means that life is here for your growth. It means that life is here for your evolution. It means that life is here for your experience, to be embraced from one moment to the next, rather than insisting that it needs to be a straight line all the way to enlightenment, all the way to whatever goals you may be looking to achieve. It's not the case. There's highs and lows, but the lows are equally as important. It's not about avoiding them. How can I avoid my lows? No. How can I embrace them? It's by embracing them that they'll automatically become more balanced. So consider the journey that you're on. Can you allow yourself to be more balanced in what you're experiencing in the moment, rather than trying to escape it or avoid it or want it to be different? That's humanity's greatest challenge, wanting things to be different than they are. Wanting to go back to normal. So we come up with bizarre solutions like vaccines, and this isn't a conversation about that. That's everyone's own perspective on how they want to manage that. But the idea here is we have everything we need within ourselves, within our bodies. Our human immune system is strong. If people stop feeding themselves negativity in the form of food, in the form of media, in the form of television, in the form of lack of exercise, whatever the case is, it's different for every individual. That's the cure. But humanity doesn't want to give up its way of life. It wants to keep doing all the things that hurt it and harm it and still be comfortable. And it just doesn't work that way. Now it tries to come up with solutions in order to do that. Pills, medicines, not really medicines. Medicine is something that actually assists, but simultaneously, everything is a frequency. And certain people are vibrating at a frequency where certain things will help them, where other people are vibrating at a frequency where things may not help them. So that's why it's always a case-by-case basis. And there's nothing wrong with this stage of evolution. There's nothing wrong with these solutions that humanity is seeking in order to fix itself. But you don't have to live in that reality either. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. So there's no reason to feel threatened by it. Letting go of a negative belief system when you're reaching the end of that belief, when you're on the other side of that eye of the needle, or going through the eye of the needle. In this particular example, there's a lot of resistance that may arise. There's a lot of loud negative beliefs that may start shattering to you, a lot of emotional intensity that may come to the surface. But it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect because that's part of the process. And most people won't make it. Not into your reality. You'll be entering a new reality, as you already are every moment, but it'll be a totally different reality, void of a lot of these forms of negativity that have been meandering for a couple millennia or more. But be persistent, be consistent. I was going to try and merge the two words into one there. As you merge with your higher self, it may take a year or two before we're through this eye of the needle and into an entirely different reality, entirely new age of experiencing life. But it's coming. But it requires your persistence. It requires your consistency in maintaining that higher vibrational state and not judging what others are doing, because it has nothing to do with you. Let their solutions be their solutions and allow yours to manifest as needed. There's nothing to fix, nothing to change. No one's actually suffering. It's the equivalent of watching a movie. Are those actors actually suffering? Or are they choosing to act as though they're suffering for that scene in the movie? Just because humanity doesn't recognize this, because it's not conscious of that it's doing that, doesn't mean that it's not doing that. Just because it has forgotten, it's been conditioned to not remember, that it's choosing its experience at all times, that doesn't mean that it's not choosing its experience at all times. Of course we are. We're created in the image of God. What does that mean? That doesn't mean we're victims. That's impossible. Existence can't be a victim of itself. It doesn't make sense. The more you recognize that your perceptions that are masked in conflict, inner conflict and or outer conflict, are senseless, then it begins to disappear. But it's a process. It's a journey. That's why the nature of being persistent and consistent is so essential. So what's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you here? Why did you choose to be in this body? Don't say, I don't know. It just happened. No, it's not the case. It's nonsense. It's nonsensical. So why did you choose to be here? Some people don't like their life. They get depressed. They choose to sleep all day. They choose to not interact with their fellow human beings, with their community, with their people. Sometimes they don't even interact with the people in their own home because they've completely forgotten what this is. And that's okay. They have the right to do that. It has zero influence on you. But who do you choose to align with? There are human beings that are fully conscious that they chose to be here from a spiritual format. Would you prefer to align with those? Is that not a higher level of responsibility? Knowing with certainty that you decided to have this human experience for a specific purpose, to express yourself creatively, to live your passion, and share your enthusiasm with others. That's why you're here. That's why you chose to be here. It's part of the cycle of existence. And it's not forever. It's for right now. And it'll continue to evolve from one form to the next. So what is there to be depressed about? What is there to forget? Why masquerade as though you don't know why you've decided to be here? Choosing to not know why you're in a human body is choosing to be a victim. Choosing to forget the things that would be relevant for you to know is choosing to be a victim, choosing to be ignorant. And life may be very challenging for some, so they want to hide from it. But every moment's an opportunity to reawaken. And it sounds harsh, right? If people aren't ready to hear it, where's the compassion? Where's the empathy? God is unconditionally loving. What does that mean? It means people are supported whether they want to be victims or not. They're supported in their belief of being a victim. That's unconditional love. God isn't changing anything. Existence isn't changing anything. It's just a machine. It's just a mechanism. What you put in is what you get out. It's supporting that all the time. What do you want to put into it? I know why I'm here. I'm here to be a god or a goddess. I'm here to be powerful. I'm here to be free. I'm here to demonstrate to others the nature of my creativity and full self-expression. What do you choose? People don't allow me to be that way. That's your choice. If you're afraid that you're going to upset people, that's your choice. If you're in a relationship where someone's putting you down for being yourself, it's your choice to stay there. And maybe you need to learn some lessons there. Maybe it's not time to leave it yet. Or transition into something new. But how you're being is always your decision. And it feels like you can't do things certain times, like you're helpless, like you can't control the situation. But that's a belief. It's the belief that's perpetuating the feeling. It's a belief that's perpetuating the emotion. So you must be persistent and consistent in exploring your beliefs and exploring your negative definitions of life. That's how you ascend. That's how you transcend any form of victim mentality. And most human beings are working through this. I'm working through this at different layers and levels. It's part of the journey. But at some point, you want to become a role model for others. It's your natural state. You naturally exemplify what does it mean to be a spiritual being in a human body. And you're inspired to share. And that's why we've created this collaboration of communities, this assembly of different audiences through the platform of Noble Goldman, Phoenix Rising United, quantum elite community. We're joining forces, so to speak, albeit there's no force required in order for this to manifest as needed and magnetize those who are ready for it. So become that shining light for the people in your life and allow it to repel those who are not in alignment with you, and allow it to embrace and magnetize those who are. People are vibrations. Allow your life to reflect the vibrations that you prefer by being persistent and consistent in who you are, in your state of being. I love you. Thank you for joining me in this amazing conversation. Keep allowing yourself to be more. Much love and appreciation, and I'll see you on the next episode.